Alright guys, welcome back to our fourth C# tutorial. And in this tutorial we want to look at data types. So basically, data types are like the name is saying it, types of data. We already know the string data type. We can see it here. But we have a lot of other data types we can see here. And the most commonly used data types are string, boolean, int, and yeah, that's are the most commonly used data types. I wanna start with an int. Int is the short word for integer. Int, you can see it, it is blue here. But we can also use int 32. That's the same. That's are both the same. Yeah, so what is an int? An int is basically a number. And if we want to print that out, this number, you can see our console.writeLine method accepts integers. So if we print that out, you can see 1. But we have a number now, and the range from an integer is, you can see it here, minus a lot of minus a lot to plus a lot. These are also constants we can access. If we say int.maxValue, I will print that out. It will print out the maximum value from an integer. But what if we need a larger number than the max value? Well, we can use a unsigned integer then. Oops. An unsigned integer is the same as an integer, but it cannot have negative values. If we look at a maximum value, it's more than an integer, but it's not like an integer minus 2, something like that. It's null, the minimum. If we print that out, you will see our max value. But what if we need more than an unsigned integer, not the maximum value? We can use a long then. A long is more than an unsigned integer and more than all other types, like short or integer. Yeah. You can see it here. It's a signed long. So basically, first I want to explain you what signed and unsigned is. Signed is you can have minimum values, and unsigned is you can have negative values, and unsigned is you cannot have negative values. Yeah, as you can see here, that number is pretty big. And if we print that out, we will see the maximum value. Again, if we need a higher number than that, we use an unsigned long, and that number is huge. But what if we need more than a U long? We need to use decimal then. Decimal is the biggest value you can have in C#. As you can see, that number is huge. If I print them both out, I'll use ulong dot max value in here. As you can see, this is a long. The first is long, the second is a decimal. So that is the biggest number you can have. Yeah, there are some other data types like float, double, but I don't wanna spend time on these things yet. Basically, a float and a double are decimals with not decimals, are numbers with commas. So if we do a bit math here, we do int s equals 1 divided by 2, and we print out s. I'll comment that out, and we will print out s. We should get 0.5. But what? We get 0. Why? Because a decimal can only an integer can only be a complete number. If you wanna get 0.5, we need to use float or oh yeah, it's because Visual Studio is assigning that as integers, and if we want that as float, we place an f behind them, and you will see we get 0.5. Or, that is the first thing, we can also use a lowercase f, or we use this. That should be already enough. Yep. If you place a float in brackets before one of our number, then we say this number, we will cast that to a float. So the compiler is now knowing, okay, you want this number as a float, so this number needs also to be a float, and 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, so s is 0.5. Yeah, that's already typecasting in here, what you can see here. The same works with double. Here we will also see now that we get 0, because we can place a d behind that for double, or we do it with our old method, double, and this will also work. But what now? What if we want if we have a double and we enter a number in our console.readline. Console.readline, and we get an error. But why? As we can see here, console.readline returns a string, and we cannot convert a string to a double. If we want to do that, we can use double.parse, and then we toss in our string, and this should work. If I enter 12, you will see we get 12. But what if I enter a string, not a number, like high max? You will see we get an exception, because we cannot convert high max into a double. To prevent that, we can say double dot try parse, but this takes two parameters, like string s and a out double result. As you can see, we get an error here because try parse is returning a boolean. A boolean is basically something. A boolean is always true or false. A boolean cannot be null, it cannot be a number, it cannot be a string. It is always true or false. Yeah, but how do we fix this then? We assign our variable double s. Now we make comma, and then we use the out keyword because it says we need out here. From our method there's something coming out, so we have two values that are coming out from our methods. First the return value, a boolean, and then our result as a double. Out s, because s is our double. And if we write 12, it will work as usually. But if we write hi max, it will write 0, because the default value from a double is 0. We cannot parse that, and yeah, that's why it will write 0. We also have a data type called object. Basically, what's an object? An object is the base class from all other classes in .NET framework. If you create a new class, you will always have this methods in your class. They are marked as virtual, and yeah, I'll explain you that later in about tutorial or virtual. I will explain virtual in the advanced C# tutorial, I guess, not in the beginners tutorial. Yeah, so basically object is the base class from all other classes in C#. That's why we can see, if we use s dot, we have these basic methods here, like toString, get type code, get type, get hash code, equals, and compare to. Yeah, so what if we wanna convert that double we parsed into a string? We declare our string double string, and we assign it to s, and we see that is not possible because we cannot convert a double to a string. And now we use our object class. As we can see, we have here a method called toString, and this will return our string. So we use that method and everything should work fine. If we print out double string now, we enter our value 12, and you will see it prints out 12 perfectly. If we print out, if we are trying to parse hi max, it will print out 0 like before. So that is basic type casting. Yeah, of course we can also enter a value like that shouldn't have, oh, because no, that doesn't work. Why? Oh yeah, because sorry, of use this, it will print out 91 because my decimal separator in Windows is a comma. If we start this and do it like this, it will print out 9.1. That has something to do with the cultures. If your decimal separator in your Windows is a point or a dot, then you need to use this. In my case, it will ignore the dot and make 91 from that number. But if your decimal separator is like mine, a comma, then you need to use a comma if you want to parse that. Yeah. So I guess that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. In the next episode we will look at the Boolean and simple if statements. Yeah, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, a rating would be much appreciated, and see you in the next episode.